Hi there, it's Mark, and today in the wonderful and sunny world, is it sunny? The wonderful and cloudy world of Windows that way, of Lightroom, we're going to be looking at color grading. Now, if you watched my previous video, which was about the Nik Collection 9 from DxO, you'll have seen how easy it was to dramatically change the look and feel of a picture. In those images, we made Lisa here, in Lightroom this time, into an autumnal scene. So I'll be showing you how to do that in Lightroom today. But that was largely stylization choice, which is one of the reasons you color grade. You color grade because you want to introduce a style, a look, a feel, a theme, a consistency across a set of pictures. But then there's the other side of color grading where you want to fix things. You might have a color cast on the picture. A sunset wasn't quite right, or you are using an ND filter and it's left a little bit of a bluish tinge on the picture. And color grading is about that too. You may not realize you're color grading, but you're color grading. So today we'll be looking at Lisa again on this particular shot. And this shot we'll use to not fix that picture, not render that picture to exactly that, but I'll introduce all the various tools, because they are scattered throughout, that you can use to apply color grading. And yes, Lightroom has got a panel called color grading, but we won't be knocking on the door of that panel very much to do our color grading. Then we've got this picture where in hindsight I wasn't a fan necessarily of having a red gel on my flash behind to light the smoke, so we changed that to blue. 20 seconds work in Lightroom. Then we've got another picture. This is also Lisa, taken from a photo shoot in the Tyne Tunnel. In fact, I think she's still down there. Note to self, send a food parcel. Yes, I think Lisa, the lift wasn't working. She's still there. We'll be using some stylization on this one as well. I'm using stylization rather than fixes, because there's not much to fix on these, and that's not a shout out to the photographer. It's more that there wasn't much to fix on them, and there's far more fun and games and far more education to be had with looking at a bigger variety of things you can look at through the lens of color grading. Then we've got Emily from a ballet shoot, an urban ballet shoot, and we'll be adding some color grade stylization onto this picture too. Ella from a shoot in St James's Park area, an urban fashion shoot. And then we've got some scabby boats. Now that's a nautical expression, you might not have heard of it. It's probably also a northeastern expression. Scabby boats. This is Seaton Sluice, lovely word, sluice. And we're going to be doing some various colour grades and changes on this picture. Now all of these pictures, as usual, are in a zip file. And that zip file, as usual, is on my website. And the link to that zip file on my website is, as usual, on the video notes below. So while I fill up my coffee cup as usual and play the titles, then you can go and get them, and I'll see you in about 7 seconds as usual. So here we are in our first picture, and we're going to use this as a canvas to introduce ourselves to the tools. All these tools can be used individually, or better still in combination when looking to color grade or render a particular stylization. One of the tools will help you learn more about Lightroom, give you some editing challenges, help develop your skills in understanding what the combination of all of these panels can do. But we'll get back to that. First things first, I've just spotted there's a bottle in the foliage. Hang on a second, let's delete that. Go to our remove tool. Some scumbag has deposited a plastic bottle rather than the bin, of which I happen to know is only about 10 or 15 yards from this place. Okay, that's got rid of that. Where were we? Yes, we're going to use this canvas to just whiz through some of the tools. So first and foremost, you've got in the basic panel, you've got your white balance, which is not just for white balance. White balance is rendering the picture to as close to what you actually saw by finding and setting a neutral point, usually a grey point. But you can also use it to add warmth or coolness to a picture. And adding warmth is introducing more yellows, which is starting to take us a little way towards autumnal colours. So that could be a good starting point. What else do we have? Well, we've got calibration. What is calibration? This picture is made of lots of pixels that have been rendered to a colour. If we zoom in and zoom in and zoom in, you'll see, can we zoom in that far? You can start to see individual pixels here. Each pixel is a definite colour. You can't get a split colour on a pixel. Each pixel is a definite colour. That definite colour, that rendered colour, is a combination of red, green and blue. Those are the, for want of a bad expression, subatomic components of each pixel. Once the pixels are rendered, such as all the blues you can see in Lisa's dress, Colour Mixer will grab that blue and we can change that blue. Colour Mixer could change the saturation of that blue. These tools, all of these tools, work on the rendered, the completed colour that this red, green and blue made. So these are the lowest possible level particles of your picture. Now, because of that, tiny changes can drastically impact a picture. I tend to find that moving the red primary over makes things a lot more rich and nice. Incidentally, throw your reds over to the left and throw your blues over to the right and you've got a very strong orange and teal. So calibration is another tool. Then we've got Colour Mixer, we've just seen. Let's go back into Colour Mixer. And in Colour Mixer, you've got hue, which is the variation of the colour, saturation, which is the strength of the colour, and luminosity, which is the brilliance of the colour. And you can use these sliders, as we saw with the dress, to actually change that. Or if you're not sure what some colour is, I mean, what colour is that moss there? You can always, if you wanted to alter the hue of that, click on the individual eyedroppers you've got here, bring your cursor over, click down on that moss, and then slide up. And if you notice the sliders on the right, yellow and green are moving. So that wasn't just one colour, that actually there is a combination of those two. So you can alter things within Colour Mixer. Let's reset what we've done so far and carry on. The next one is colour grading itself. There is a colour grading panel. I don't know what yours will look like. I think the default is this, but you may also have it set to individual highlights, midtones and shadows. And I leave this drop down because although I use the wheel sometimes to move things around, essentially all that's changing is hue, saturation. It doesn't change luminance. So you move the wheel in and out. Notice how the saturation slider is going. I can drag this around the outside and change the hue without changing the saturation. But whatever I do on this wheel, the luminosity never changes. So I prefer to have this little dropper down here. That's just an eyeball for the colour, and I will move the hue around myself. So we wanted to put autumnal in this, so I'll bring it around to here, and then I'll bring the saturation up, and then I can adjust the luminosity of that. And likewise, jumping into the highlights, I might want to bring it also around to the orange side of things, bring the saturation up a bit further and a little bit more luminosity to start and get some oranges and things in. But guess what, this is global. What we've been doing so far are global, so every bit of the shadows or every bit of a particular color on the Colour Mixer is getting adjusted, and we just want foliage in this particular case, so masks are going to be our friend. Let's reset that. So all the eyes are out. We haven't done any edits because I've reset it. Under basics, you've also got profiles. Now there are many to go through, well, not that many, but you can try them out. But let's just pick that one. Whether it suits our purpose or not is irrelevant for now, and you can alter the amount of that profile and close it. What has the profile done? Those eyes are telling me that no sliders have been changed. So I don't learn a lot from that profile. I can like it, I can use it, but I don't learn a lot. If, however, we came into a preset and found a preset we liked, and let's see if there is an autumn one. Of course there is. And we hover over them, we get to see what they look like. Now let's just assume we liked that look. Let's click on this. And what's happened over here? Notice how the eyes have been lit up on basic, tone curve and color mixer. So I can go into these now and look at what's been changed. I can look at what's happened in the color mixer. I can look at what's happened in the tone curve. So if I see a look over here that I like, let's click reset, and I'm going to completely click a random futuristic, actually that might come in handy a little bit later on, futuristic 6. If I like that look and wanted to know how it was done, I can see that it's actually altered something in basic, tone curve, color mixer and detail, and I could go and have a look. So this is a way you can find a look that you like and then learn how it's done and then compare and contrast, and that way you're self-teaching how to do things in Lightroom. I did realize, however, when I clicked on reset, I also inadvertently brought that bottle back, but we shall leave it for the moment. So we've looked at, there's a color temperature, there's calibration, there's color mixer, there's color grading, there's presets and there's profiles, all of which are largely global. But what we want to do here is do something to the vegetation. So let's jump into the masking and look at landscape, which should have in it foliage, sky, buildings. It should find out the component parts. And in our case, it's found vegetation. So we'll click vegetation, which is a bit generous at the back here, but it kind of suits most of our needs. We've got that there. So we'll click create mask. And all I'm going to do here is try to fix this with the hue slider. So from one end to the other to find a orangey, yellowy, autumnal thing. And I think it's about there. Let's saturate it a bit more. And combine it with a bit of a yellow. Now I can bring the saturation down. The saturation was helping me eyeball that. And we're starting to get somewhere towards an autumnal colour. But it's local. It's not impacting Lisa, her dress, the rocks or anything. If you wanted to particularly target that green, we could come in and we could go colour range and pick that green. Notice it's all over the place, so let's refine it down to the green we want, which is there. And then we could also play with the hues in the greens as well. So there you have it on this particular picture. Gone through a lot. Go and get a coffee, replay it. Color temperature, calibration, color mixer, color grading, presets and profiles are all tools that can be used individually or combined to take us on this journey. Let's do one very quick example on the next picture just to show it can be very simple. Took this, and in hindsight I wasn't a fan of the red. I'd rather gone with a blue gel on my flash to light the smoke to match Lisa's dress. So let's just grab a background mask. It's included her sleeve. We'll see if that's going to be a problem or not in a minute. And all we're going to do is just now move the hue over to get a blue that we like. And I think, yes, that does work. And I don't like it on the sleeve, so I'm going to subtract with a brush. And I'm going to take it off. I didn't bother doing that straight away because I wasn't sure whether or not it was going to be an issue. But it's easy enough to adjust. So now we've got that. Bring the brightness up a little bit of it. And a bit more saturation. And then before and after with our backslash key. Before and after. Here's Lisa again, still in the time tunnel, still receiving our food parcels. Now, what do I want to do here? When you're editing a picture, you generally edit because there's something you need to do, like adjust exposure or remove a bit of litter. But if you're doing things for stylization, it's good to have an idea of what you want to do, unless you're happy just playing. Now I want to make this grungy. I want to make it more film style like orange and teal. And I want to make it a little bit more high contrast. And I also want to give our eye something to focus right down in and make almost a tunnel like picture. So there are my goals. So let's start with calibration. and the orange and teal trick. I'm going to go over the top with this. There. Close that. I'm going to brighten it ever so slightly. I want to really darken this top, so let's try and select the ceiling. Let's see what an object selection tool will do. If I go from there to there, will it? Yes, it's got the ceiling quite well. So what I want to do now is just bring that exposure right down. In fact, while we're on the subject, I want generally to have a heavy vignette on this, but I'm going to do it with a radial gradient. Something like that. With a big feather on it rather than a hard line. A big feather on it. I want to invert it. And then I'm also going to bring the exposure down. Okay. Now then, let us get the clarity up, because that introduces a lot of sparkle in the outfit and such, and also adds a lot of contrast in there. Let's get the exposure up again a little bit more. Now this side is catching my eye because it's brighter than that side, so I'm just going to quickly jump back in to our masks, get another, I think I'll use the object tool and see if it'll find me that area. It's picked out the sign, but so be it, don't really fussed about that. And I'm going to just bring the exposure down, bring the shadows down. I'm eyeballing it to what it looks like on the other side, and I'm quite happy with that. Yep, I think that is where I want to be. So before and after, backslash key, fundamentally changed the look and feel of that picture using color grading techniques and stylizing that picture. All right, what we've got next? We've got Emily. So just click on reset, make sure I haven't done anything. No. So with Emily, I think we'll just cool this off. So let's just jump over and try a preset, shall we? Let's go for cold. And there is one called cold. Don't know if I'm a fan of that. Let's try cool. Cool light, cool matte. Oh, I like that. Cool shadows, warm highlights. What's it done? My guess is on color grading panel. Yes, so if we come back over here, all this edit is done, has been done from the color grading. So if we have a look at the shadows, you can see the hue it's introduced, this blue, gentle on the saturation and darken it. I think I'll actually bring the shadows up a little bit. On the midtones, it has gone for a yellow hue. I'm going to bring that round a little bit more towards the orange. And then it's 55% saturation, and again it's actually brought the brightness down. I'm going to take that brightness down a little bit further. And on the highlights, I think the highlights actually look all right. Just to remind yourself of what the highlights are, notice it's on 20. We just switch it off and on, and you can see how much it's bringing that into the picture. It's very, very, very subtle. So I'm actually going to, I'm going to leave that up a bit higher to there. What else would I want to do with this? Well, possibly, do I want to cool the whole thing or brighten? I think I will just nudge up the yellow on that, and I want to put a vignette on it. And let's look at before and after, and I rather like that. So there's an example where we started with a preset to give us our leg up, as it were. Next picture, Ella. So this was an urban shoot. There is a profile I like, but unfortunately it doesn't tell us what it does. And it's under modern, it's number 5. And what it does is it desaturates the picture, as you can see. But as we've seen, profiles are baked in, you don't get to see what they're done. But from what we know now, looking at that, we can do that ourselves. So let's go back and let's desaturate the picture somewhat. And I think it is as simple as that. However, that doesn't sit with me. I'd rather just do that to the background. So let us select the background. That looks a reasonable enough selection. Bottom of a foot I'm not going to worry about because we're just talking saturation and it's black, and you can see a little bit of grey in a hand, but we won't worry about that either. I'm now going to bring the saturation down for that background, and she pops much more in this picture for that because we haven't altered it. What else would I want to do on this? From a colour point of view, I might want to select, I'm going to select people because I want her clothing, and clothing's a sub part of the people masking, and clothes, and create mask. Now what I want to do with that mask is increase clarity. Clarity brings out lots of nice creases and things, and highlights, more contrast in them. So you can see that it's coming alive, the leather jacket there, it's really coming alive. But I also want to give it a little bit of a tinge on yellow, just to slightly bring up her colour in her tights closer to her skin tone. And then finally, I think on this particular one, I'll add a vignette. And before and after. And that makes quite a difference. Now, whether or not you like these pictures and what I'm doing with them is irrelevant. It's showing you around the tools and showing you how you combine them, and showing how using masks is key as well, because it helps localize things rather than globally adjust things. And if masks are new to you, just follow along what we've done. But if you want to learn more about masks, I've got a whole free course here on YouTube called Mastering Masks in Lightroom, which I'll put a link to above now. What's our next picture? Oh yes, the scabby boats. I said it was a local expression. I was thinking clarty. The clarts, the boats are in the clarts. What shall we do with this? Well, I think from a colour grading point of view, I'm just going to use colour grading, because after all, it is what this one's called. So we want to look at the highlights first, I think, in this. And I'm going to introduce a bit of warmth in them by using the orange. I'll use my sliders down here. I'm far more comfortable with doing those. I've put the saturation way up so I can better see the impact of that colour. And then I will put the saturation in to adjust to suit. Now where's my eye on this? Well, my eye is on the brickwork and on some of the sand and tops and a little bit of the grass, where I've got highlights. Not so much worried about the highlights, i.e. the whitey bits on the boats. And come to shadows. So I'm going to be looking deep into the walls here, down the seaweeds and things like that. So I'm going to bump my saturation up while I find the hue that I want. It also reminds me exactly where this is going to be. And I think somewhere going into that purple, probably around there. Okay, let's introduce the amount that I want. Something like that. And I'm going to darken it as well. Go back to the highlights, and I'm going to increase the luminosity. Midtones, I think I'll bring midtones are between highlights and shadows, obviously, so I'm actually going to bring the midtones down in favor of the shadows by coming down there and lowering that. And then I'm just going to set the balance point between all shadow or all what we did in highlight. This is where you set the balance between them. So having done that, I'm actually going to nudge it that way. Now that, together with a little vignette, I think I'm quite happy with. So before and after. So that is fundamentally quite different in terms of tones, and it does make a different picture. And that was primarily just using the color grading itself. Okay, it's a bit of a long video, but I will leave it there. I hope this has given you food for thought. You've got the pictures, please go and use them and give them a try out. If you like this, click on the like. Leave any questions you like in comments, and please click on that subscribe button if you've not already. Looking through the stats on the channel, the vast majority of people who watch my videos are non-subscribers. So if that is you, come and join the subscribers club. It's great. You can get yourself biscuits and everything. Speak to you on the next one. Bye for now.